Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to peel back the layers on a really fascinating report about the Solomon Islands. It's a place with not one, but two powerful parallel worlds of justice. Okay, but before we jump in, let's just stop for a second. When I say the word justice, what pops into your head? Is it a courtroom, a judge with a gavel, maybe those classic scales? Just hold on to that image. All right, now what if I told you there's a place where the answer to that question is completely different depending on which world you belong to? A place where, for most people, that whole courtroom image is totally alien. It's replaced by something, well, something much older, and honestly, a lot more powerful in their daily lives. Okay, let's get right into it. First up, we're going to explore the system that, for something like 80% of Solomon Islanders, is the law of the land. We're talking about the world of custom. And this isn't some historical relic. This is their reality right now. So what is custom? Well, it's not some dusty old rule book sitting on a shelf. The report puts it perfectly. It's the living, breathing social fabric of the nation. Think of it as all the unwritten rules and traditions that guide, well, pretty much everything. Marriage, who owns what land, how you settle an argument with a neighbor. It's all in there. And right at the heart of custom, you've got this incredible concept, the Wantok system. It literally means one talk, as in people who speak the same language. It's this powerful web of support, a real social safety net. But, the report is clear that there's a flip side. That same intense loyalty, it can also lead to things like nepotism, which can really undermine the more formal, merit-based systems. And this is maybe the most important thing to get your head around. The whole goal of custom justice is completely different from what many of us are used to. It's not really about guilt or innocence or locking someone up. The ultimate aim is to restore harmony, to bring the whole community back into balance. It's about fixing the relationships. Yeah, and you can really see how that plays out here. The whole process is public, it's communal. There's this amazing practice called Tolk Story. It's basically a big group conversation where everyone gets to tell their side of things. And it all leads to reconciliation and often some form of compensation. But that compensation isn't a punishment. It's more like a symbolic act to, stitch that torn social fabric back together. Okay, so that's one world. Now let's switch gears and look at the other world of justice, the formal, state-based system. This is the one that looks more familiar to us. Police, courts, parliament, most of it inherited from the British. And the report has this perfect way of describing this system. It's paper strong, but practice weak. I love that. On paper, all the pieces are there. A constitution, a high court, the whole shebang. But in practice, their actual reach is super limited, especially once you get outside the capital, Honiara. Day to day, for most people, custom and the church just have way more influence. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. You might think the state system would try to push custom aside, right? Nope. The state's own constitution doesn't just acknowledge custom, it gives it some serious power. Get this, the law of the land actually places customary law above the English common law that the whole state system is built on. I mean, wow. And this isn't just some vague principle either. It is written, black and white, into the country's most important laws. The rules for marriage, for divorce, even for who gets land, they all officially bow to the authority of custom. So these two systems are legally, officially tangled up together. So, okay, you've got these two super powerful systems running in parallel. What happens when they actually crash into each other? Well, it's exactly what you'd expect. A really complex mix of cooperation, competition, and, sometimes just straight-up conflict. And that relationship was really put to the test during a period of intense civil conflict they called the tensions. This was a huge crisis that didn't just challenge the state. It shook the world of custom to its very core and even twisted it. And you can see exactly how right here. That traditional practice of compensation, remember the tool meant to restore harmony? It got completely weaponized. As one analyst, John Frankel, put it was twisted into a way to demand money from the state. It turned a tool for peace into an engine for the conflict itself. Just incredible. And even beyond that crisis, you see these points of friction all the time. A really big one is when custom bumps up against modern ideas of human rights. Take child custody, for example. The formal courts will say the welfare of the children is what matters most, but that can directly contradict some customary laws that say custody automatically goes to the father's family. And that tension gets really sharp when you look at issues like gender inequality. I mean, caste and forms are often dominated by men, which can marginalize women's voices. Or think about something as serious as domestic violence. The push for community reconciliation, which sounds good, can end up pressuring victims and letting perpetrators off with no real consequences. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom and clashing systems. The report also highlights these moments of just brilliant innovation. After the conflict, the National Peace Council did something amazing. They blended Western-style mediation with traditional custom ceremonies. It's proof that these two worlds don't have to be at war. They can actually be blended to create something new that really works. All right, let's wrap this up in our final section and see what this all means. Because what's happening in the Solomon Islands actually teaches us a universal lesson about the very idea of justice. This table just lays it all out so perfectly. You can see the deep philosophical divide. Western justice is all about the individual, privacy, getting a legally binding contract. Custom practice, it's about the group, about harmony, about public processes, and fixing relationships. We're talking about two fundamentally different ways of looking at the world. And all of this leads to the report's big, powerful, central warning. And it's for any outsider, any country, any NGO, who thinks they can just waltz in and fix the justice system there. If you don't meaningfully engage with custom, you are, and I quote, destined to fail. So, at the end of the day, what's the big takeaway? It's this. Real, effective justice isn't a one-size-fits-all product you can just ship from one country to another. It has to grow from the ground up. It has to be built with the people it's supposed to serve, and it has to be grounded in their culture, their values, their reality. And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. What is the true purpose of justice anyway? Is it to enforce one single universal standard for everyone? Or should it always be tailored to the specific people it serves, to mend the unique fabric of their society? The Solomon Islands, well, it doesn't give us an easy answer, but it sure makes us ask the right question.